Remember, today it's our last practice session for task number 1 of the speaking section. So we're gonna finish practicing. We'll do pretty much what we did yesterday. I'll be hearing your responses to a few questions, and I'll be giving you some feedback. And on Tuesday, we'll be starting with something new. Okay, so let's see. We're gonna start with this question today. The question says, because of alarming increases of carbon emissions, some believe that consumers should be forced to buy electric cars if they do not want to use public transportation. Do you think that it is a good idea to force consumers to buy electric cars? Support your points with specific examples and details. So you will have 15 seconds now to prepare your responses. Okay, so we'll start today with Ricardo. Please, you may go ahead now.
I would say that I disagree because electric car companies, just like oil car companies, contribute to increase emissions and to destroy our planet. For example, Tesla Motors or others that are ruled by Jeff Bezos. That's it.
Okay. So you could have extended your examples, right? So what happens with Tesla Motors? What with them? You didn't quite understand that relationship that you made between your examples and your point. I'm guessing that you meant that those companies contribute to pollution just as much as all gas cars, right?
Yeah, I didn't know much about the topic. I feel like personally I feel like I needed to know more facts about it.
Okay. That may and may not be true, because at the end of the day, remember that this isn't about your knowledge. So it doesn't matter if what you say is inaccurate. You can always make something up. So remember, they're not evaluating here how much you know about the topics. You could say, for example, when you get an environment question, which you may get one, it's like 10% of the time you get one of these. So you can always use the same arguments. You can say that anything that we can do to help the environment is welcome. So yes, they should totally force consumers to buy electric cars. And I know even that may sound like a little bit maybe too extreme, but it's okay because it doesn't matter what you say, right? And then you can mention a fact that you make up about how severe pollution is right now, or maybe how cars contribute to pollution. You can say, yes, they should do this because 95% of pollution is produced by cars. And that's obviously not true, but it doesn't matter, Or you can do the opposite and do what you were saying and make something up, right? You can say, so electric cars contribute to pollution only 2% less than usual cars. So you're making it up. Remember, this is not evaluating your knowledge, but the way you speak, right? So careful there. But everything else was good, really. No other comments. That tip would be the only thing. Is that okay? Do you guys have any questions so far? But remember, it doesn't matter what you say. As long as it sounds coherent, as long as it makes sense and it explains what you're saying, it will be okay. Now let's see. Okay, here we have, do you agree or disagree with the statement? College students should not be required to take general education courses. Make sure that you give specific reasons plus supporting details in your argument. You will now have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, so Maria Rene, are you there? No, are you? Okay, then please let's maybe hear Laura. You can start now.
I definitely disagree that college students should not be required to take general education courses, since students need to know about the basic courses or subjects before more advanced courses. For instance, a student who wants to study major in math needs the basic courses for it. But besides the basic courses of math, he needs to advance, for example, some history, literature, because it's cultural knowledge, and they need to know everything about general education. That would be the main reason why I feel this way.
Great, nice. That was a perfect response. So, perfect introduction. You answered the question directly. It was fast. Great reason. A student should know, should have general knowledge before going into more advanced courses. And you had specific details in your example. So you talked about the students in general. So you created a situation about one student that wants to major in math. So those were the details. And you talked about what general courses they should take, right? Like history. And you had your time for the conclusion too. So great. That was great. Well done. No comments really. Okay, guys. Let's go with another one. So this one here says, explain whether you agree or disagree with the following statement. Children should not be allowed to play video games. Then give specific details in your argument. You will now have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. All right, please, if we could go with David. Okay, you may start now.
Okay, in my opinion, I definitely agree with that children should be not allowed to play video game because some video game contain like violence or different scenic that is not good for the children. For example, for example, in my case, when I play in some video game, my mother or my father uh, be with me because they say my I don't know.
Okay, remember, your example is kind of like an extension of your reason. You were going good. You said Yeah, they shouldn't be allowed to play video games since some video games contain violence, and this is not a good thing for children, right? And then with your example, if you're talking about violence, try not to use examples in the past, we said yesterday. So try to talk about facts, about routines, things in the present. So maybe the best example you could have given here was to mention a video game that contains violence, right? You could say, for example, I play this game, and if you don't know the name of a video game, then just make it up, right? You can make something up. I was playing, or I play, I don't know, guns and computers. Let's say that's the name of a video game. So it doesn't exist, but it's okay. And then you explain maybe what type of violence it contains, right? So show me the details. So they show guns, they show murders, they show, I don't know, street violence. So those details are the ones that we're missing, but remember, it's just an extension of your research. So if you talk about violence, then tell me an example of a video game that contains violence, how it affects children, what type of violence they show, right? Those are the details they need. But that'll be the only thing. Only your example was a little bit weak, but the other, I mean, the rest of your response was great. Careful pronunciation, the word allowed, because you're probably gonna see it a lot in these questions. So allowed, careful there. Is that okay? Any questions, David? Okay. Mhm. All right, the question here says, explain whether you agree or disagree with the following statement. Robots will replace a majority of the jobs in the next decade. Then give specific details in your argument. You will now have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, now let's go with Henry there.
Excuse me, teacher, me?
Yes.
Okay, teacher.
Okay. Please, you can start now.
I would definitely say that I do agree that robots will replace a majority of the jobs in the next decade, only because they are gonna make easier all the tasks and all the jobs that could be dangerous for all the people, and also people they will have better jobs using their mind, using their abilities or another skills instead of using the strength and the body. And I think that in the next decade it's gonna be good.
Okay, well done, Henry. So you had two ideas. Well, you had one idea and then it extended to something else. So yeah, they'll make things easier. Then they'll basically take over the tasks that require physical strength and effort, and people are gonna start working in positions where they are required to use their intellect, right? So that's great, great arguments, great introduction too, and recommend that you try to use details, right? Remember, it's specific details. So give me an example of a job that will no longer be made, will be done by people in the future, right? Maybe you can talk, in the future, we won't have construction workers anymore, right? And people will start working on maybe creative jobs. Maybe you can talk about marketing, let's say, right? So I need those details. Tell me an example of a job that will be replaced, of the type of jobs that robots are going to be doing in the future and that people are going to be doing. I need that to picture what you're saying. Okay, don't forget the details. That'll be the only thing.
Okay, teacher, thank you so much.
You guys, any questions so far? No? Right? So we have only digital textbooks should be available for university students. Do you agree or disagree with that statement? Make sure that you give specific reasons plus supporting details in your argument. Okay? You will have 15 seconds now to prepare your responses. Okay, so maybe we can go with Evelyn. You there? Hello, Evelyn. Okay. Then Ricardo, please. Okay, please, you may start now.
I would say that I totally disagree because digital textbooks allow us to maintain and keep the diversity of our forests safe. For example, it's been said by a very well-known scientist from the United States that only 40% of forests around the world are protected, but the rest is not. So I think it's very important for us to keep our forests safe. Digital books are better.
Okay. Nice. So this time I think you used that tip and you made something up, right? Or is that true, Delpha?
It was true, but I forgot the name of the scientist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in any case, it was great. So yeah, really well done. So you disagree, you said that we should be keeping our forests, and you gave a detail, right? You talked about exactly the percentage of forests that are being protected and the ones that are not. So great. I really don't have any comments in this case. Well done, Ricardo. Okay. You know, one thing that I've noticed some of you guys are doing, you're saying, and I've noticed this in my previous group too. You know, I know that my template was, I would definitely say that, right? And this is the template that I showed, the type of introduction that you could have, right? But I also told you, you could also, if you want, answer the question direct, right? So if this is an agree or disagree question, then try to use the verbs agree or disagree. So what you guys are doing is you're using both, right? Some of you guys are answering, I would say that I agree, or I would say that I disagree, when there's no need, okay? Because when you say, I would say that I agree, it's weaker than when you say, I totally agree, right? Or I agree. So in order to make your position stronger, try not to use both, you know? If you're gonna use the same verb as in the question, then only use that. You don't need this anymore. So you could say, I totally agree with this statement. I totally disagree with this statement. And if it's better if you repeat what the statement is, right? So I totally disagree that only digital textbooks should be available for students. Or I totally agree that digital textbooks should only be available for students. But don't use both of them. If you're gonna use agree or disagree, then don't say I would say. Now, if you don't wanna use agree or disagree, then only use this, right? And you say, I would definitely say that only digital textbooks should be available for university students. So use one of the two, but don't use the two of them, okay? that'd be one tip that I can give you all. So that you take into account. Do you guys have any questions about that? No. Okay, this one looks promising. Let's see. Okay. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? People should be fined when they do not wear a mask during a pandemic. Be sure to use details during your response. You will now have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay. So, Ana Micaela, are you there?
Sorry, teacher, I'm here.
Okay, so could you try this question?
Okay, I'm agree because it's really important make the enough like so much protection. I want to say when you pandemic was so necessary, be careful with all the people, not only for us, also for the rest of the people, because the dangers that that meaning for our family or near people to us. For example, when I was studying, it was important to be careful, and we take virtual class. And I was illness. I was sick, and I had to use the mask during all of my sick. I couldn't speak with my family near. I had to close in my house almost all the time.
Okay, Anna, that's enough. Oh, I honestly couldn't hear that well your answer. I think, well, there's a lot of noise where you are. So I only could hear a few parts, and I honestly didn't get the chance to like put it together. So I cannot really give you any tips or any feedback on your response. The only thing that I could say is you went over the time. I don't know if you can hear me, but you went over a lot, right? You went like twice the time that you had. Maybe it was because you weren't looking at the clock, you weren't looking at the screen. In any case, you should be careful with your time, right? You need to practice and become used to the idea of having only 45 seconds to answer this question. And everything needs to be there, the example, the reason, and the introduction. Okay, so just careful with the time. And as for your response, I couldn't hear it really well. Maybe next time, if you can go someplace quieter, then I can give you some feedback. But thank you anyway, Anna. Okay, guys. So let's go with another one. Okay. Do you prefer to go to bed earlier at night, around 9 p.m., or do you like to stay up until 12 a.m.? Provide specific details to support your explanation. You will now have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, so maybe Laura, please. You can start now.
I definitely prefer to go to bed earlier at night, since I can wake up early the next day and be more productive. For instance, once I had to study for my math exam, and I stayed up really late, like 3 a.m. So I wasn't getting anything. I wasn't being productive since I'm a morning person, and I wasn't learning everything that I needed to. And the next day, I just I didn't do well on the test because I was really tired and I didn't catch all the information that I had. That would be the main reason why I feel this way.
Okay, great. Laura, that was perfect. Nice. So I loved everything about it. I loved your introduction, your reason, you were short and concise. And I really liked your example. I like the fact that you used a personal one, had a lot of grammar in it, and it did illustrate what you said in the beginning, that you need to wake up early and you need to be more productive, or you are more productive when you're well rested. So great, really well done, nice details. Good example, good conclusion too. So I really wouldn't have any comments for your answer. What do you guys think so far? Does anyone have any comments, any questions, anything to say? Okay. Okay, this one looks similar. It says, do you prefer to attend university classes in the morning, afternoon, or evening? Provide specific details to support your explanation. Okay? You will now have 15 seconds to prepare. Okay. Let's go with David now, please.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I definitely prefer to attend university class in the morning because when I finish the class, I can to do a different activity, or maybe I can to go to my work. So for this reason, I prefer this option. For example, in this moment, I go to my work in the morning, and after in the night I take a class with you. So in this moment I feel a little tired, so I can focus very well.
Okay, great. Nice. So you had your introduction, great. You prefer attending university classes in the morning. You gave your reason so that you can do other things later in the afternoon or evening. And you gave an example too. Great. You talked about yourself, how you go to work in your case right now in the mornings, and in the afternoons you have time to take other classes. In this case, you're taking this class. So really nice. I'd say first, I noticed that you were maybe trying to finish your response too early because you had a conclusion in the middle, right? You said your reason, you said I can go to work in the afternoon or I can do other activities. And then you were saying, for this reason, I prefer to attend university class in the morning. And then you went with your example. Make sure that that doesn't happen in your test. Your conclusion, if you're gonna have one, has to go at the end. right? So when you summarize the idea and you say, so for this reason is that I think this way, it has to be at the end. But before that, you need your example, and only then you can go with your conclusion. So only that, careful with the order. It has to be reason, example, and then conclusion. And practice the grammar, David. It can hurt your score if you repeat too much the same mistake using the modal can. You need to work on that before the test. So remember, you don't have to say can to. The to there is not necessary. So you can go, you can do, anyone can say something. Always directly to the verb. You use the modal can first and then the verb directly without the infinitive, right? Without to. So just practice that grammar point and it'll be great. Hold on, David, thank you. I like that you gave examples this time. Guys, you know, all of these questions that we're doing, I think they're about lifestyle, right? We did we did one for the environment, maybe we can do one more. We're doing work. Let's see which other ones we have. This one here says, some people choose to exercise right after they wake up before going to work, whereas others exercise after work in the evening. Which do you prefer? Include some examples and details to support your answer. You will now have 15 seconds to prepare your response. Okay, so Maria Rene, you there? Okay, then maybe Ricardo, please, you may go now.
I would definitely say that I prefer exercising after work in the evening because it's hard personally speaking for me to get up earlier. I'm one of those who prefer staying up and sleeping sleeping until 10, 11, or 12. I don't like to get up earlier. For example, I try to exercise during morning, but it was very hard for me. On the other hand, when I exercise after work, it was easier for me.
Okay, Ricardo, great. Great, that was nice. So you had your intro, you had your reason. Your reason maybe was going in circles for a bit, but then you went to your example and it was great. Careful with some expressions, right? Remember that when you stay in is when you stay in bed, right, for too long after waking up. So careful with that expression. And as for your example, to make it even more complete, don't forget that your examples should always have context in the beginning. Your example had the event and the resolution, but it was maybe a little bit too direct, right? You said, for example, I tried exercising in the mornings and I failed. It was difficult for me, but when I tried exercising in the afternoons or in the evenings, it worked. So you went directly to the events, what you did. Don't forget to include some context, right? So tell me, when did this happen? Where? You can tell me, so when I was a senior in high school, I had friends that, or I don't know, I wanted to work out with my friends and they were doing it in the mornings. So I tried to work out in the morning, right? I need this context. When did this happen? Where did this happen? And then the events and then the resolution. Okay?
Okay.
Do you guys have any questions so far? Nope. Okay. Let's see. Okay, this one looks different. Now, these are the few questions that you get related to social political issues. It says, Many protesters in the United States want to decrease funding for police departments. In your opinion, is this a good idea? Why or why not? Provide supporting details in your response. Decrease funding for the US police. You will now have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, so Laura, please, you can go now.
I would definitely say that I would definitely disagree that with the protesters in the United States who want to decrease funding for police departments, since police officers already have low salaries and their job is really important for people. For instance, whenever there is an emergency and they call 911, they would expect police to come immediately in case there's a dangerous thing going on, there is someone dangerous, and if they would decrease the funding, they wouldn't have enough people to do this job. This is the main reason why I feel this way.
Great, really good response. So now it was simple, but it was concise and it was everything you needed. I really have no comments. You know, everything was great as usual. Careful with the grammar, second conditionals, remember, so if they would decrease funding for the police departments, they wouldn't have many officers, I think you said. Careful with the second conditional, right? First, you need a simple past. So if they decreased funding, they wouldn't have, right? Only careful with that, but really well done. Perfect, really. Okay, guys. Any questions? What do you think about this question? Wasn't that bad, right? Let's look at another one like that. Maybe, okay. Let's look at different questions. So this one here says, all young men and young women should be required to complete 2 years of military service for their countries. In your opinion, is this a good idea? Why or why not? Provide supporting details in your response. You will now have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, so Ana Micaela, are you there?
Yes, teacher. I'm sorry.
Oh, great. I can hear you very well now. So please, when you're ready, you can start to answer this question.
Okay. Um, I'm
Please.
I'm agree with this option because I think I'm agree with this option because the nothing can train and military train. It's necessary to be prepared in case of war. In Bolivia, we use only 1 year of service military obligatory, and I think that it's a good opportunity to contribute to this country.
Okay, great. So you said it's necessary. Maybe in order for you to have more depth, I would like to know like why is it necessary to contribute? Maybe just to go a little bit deeper, but it wasn't bad, honestly, it wasn't bad. And now you made it on time. You didn't go over not even 1 second. You had details, so you talked about the situation here in Bolivia. So no comments other than that, maybe just go a little bit deeper with your reasons. And careful with the first sentence. Remember that the verb agree is just any normal verb, right? You cannot use it with the verb to be because you will be mixing two words that cannot be mixed. When you say I am agree, it's like you were saying I am seeing, or I am say, I am do, right? So just I agree. Is that okay, Anna? Do you have any questions?
No, teacher. Thank you. So thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Going back to education. Okay. The question here says, students should never be allowed to submit assignments after their due dates. Do you think that it's a good idea for professors not to allow late assignments? Support your points with specific examples and details. You guys will have 15 seconds now to prepare your responses. Okay. So maybe David? Are you there, David? No? Okay, then maybe Ricardo. Please, you can go now.
I would say that I totally agree. Students should submit their assignments until their due dates, because if a student cannot submit the respective assignment, then that's a lack of response to the professors, and then they get used to not be responsible. For example, I know about many professors who allow their students to submit later, and students were not responsible.
Okay, nice. So yeah, good answer. Maybe you took a little bit too long in the reason and the introduction. Remember, those should be the quicker parts, and the example should be the longer part. A way to imagine this would be your, like in percentages, let's do it. Your introduction should be around, let's say, at most, I'd say 10%, let's say, of your response. That should be your introduction. Your reason can be 20 to 30% of your response. And then, therefore, your example should be the longest part, right? You should be having an example that's 60% or maybe 50%, right? Depending, 60 to 70, even 50% of your response. So that's kind of how you have to organize. In your case, you did your intro and your reason. It was like, your intro plus your reason was like 80% of your response, and your example was 20. But it should be the other way around, right? Only that'd be the only thing that I could say. Go with shorter reasons. I don't agree with this idea, or I do agree with this idea. Professors shouldn't allow late assignments, since students become more irresponsible when professors allow them to submit late assignments. For example, and then you need to start giving your example. Okay? That'd be my only pick. You guys have any questions so far? No questions. Okay, here we have. Some say it is better to remain loyal to one company all their lives. However, others prefer to change jobs a lot during their lifetimes. Which view do you support? Give some specific details to support your response. You will now have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay. So, does anyone want to go? Volunteers? Nobody wants to try? Maybe Anna. Are you there? Do you mind going, Anna?
Yes, teacher. So only a minute.
Okay, we'll wait. Ready, Anna?
Sorry, teacher. Uh, about the loyal, I'm really sorry. What is the meaning?
I don't really get what you're saying, Anna. Couldn't quite hear that part. Can you please go again? Were you already starting your response?
Only 1 second.
Okay, Anna, so maybe next question. Let's go with Laura, please.
I definitely support to change jobs a lot during lifetimes, since you can have different experiences during a lot of jobs instead of one company their whole lives. So, for instance, I have a friend who worked in several programming companies. For example, she worked at several programming companies, and she learned different things from each of the company. And now she is in a master degree, and she has the opportunity to go to another job instead of being stuck in one her whole life. That would be the main reason why I feel this way.
Okay, Laura, great. Nice. So you had your reason, which was you can do different things, right? You get to experience different things. And you had your examples of all these friends of yours. So the only thing, try to give more details, more specific details. What exactly was the things that your friend did? Maybe what master's degree she's doing, or I don't know, more details about that. You know, the type of work she did, the type of company she was in. And I think that'll help strengthen a little bit more your example. But that'll be the only thing as a general tip. Okay, guys, one other one more. So we have, instead of phoning friends and family, many prefer to communicate by sending text messages. Do you think that it is a good idea to use texting as a primary means of communication? Support your points with specific examples and details. You will now have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, does anyone want to go? Answer this question? Maybe David? If you're there. No? Anyone else? Ricardo, why don't you try? Okay.
I would definitely say that I disagree, despite there is an intention behind each message that is written. Most of us are not aware on what this intention is. This intention can be seen through corporal, through expressions, through movement. For example, when I wrote a message, some people misunderstood my message. They thought I was angry, but I wasn't. So uh, text messages is not complete communication.
Okay, great. So I really loved your reason. I liked your example too, but you could make it better. You know, same tip as I said, same advice I gave you last time. Tell me the context. You said when I wrote a message, but what message? Now it's a little bit incomplete if you just leave it like that. So tell me, I don't know, last week I was at work, I needed to communicate this to my boss. So I don't know, I need to tell him, communicate maybe bad news about something. I mean, I didn't get my salary maybe. So I wrote this text and he misunderstood the message. He thought that I was angry when I actually wasn't. I was just trying to ask him a question. I need those details and I need the context. Okay.
Okay, teacher.
So I think that's gonna be it for today's class. What do you guys think? Remember today's the last class we're practicing. I know it might have been a little bit boring right now because we've been doing this the whole week, but I promise now we're done with the independent question. On Tuesday we'll be doing something different. So what do you think? How do you feel about this task so far? Do you feel ready? Do you have any questions? Any comments? No questions. I just sent you this link. Honestly, there are many resources you can use for practicing task number one. It's the easiest one to practice because you don't have any other material, right? Just the question. So this is a really good website. What I like about this is that it reflects most of the topics that you can find or that you can expect in this question. Okay, you're gonna find a bit of everything here. You have 90 different questions, so we have done a few of them, but I'm sure there are plenty more questions that we haven't answered yet. So make sure that you guys practice. Practicing is what makes you better in any way, you know, in managing your time. Maybe for grammar, you need to practice in a different way, but usually the problem here is coming up with ideas and examples, and the only way you'll get better at that is by practicing, you know, practicing questions from all of the different topics, and maybe you'll get one similar question in your test because they are always like around the same. So yes, it's okay, David. It's okay, no problem. So what do you guys think? Do you have any questions then before we go? No questions? Okay, so please don't forget to fill out today's survey before you leave. And I'll see you guys next week. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, teacher.
Bye-bye.
Bye, teacher.
Bye, now. David, have you filled out the survey yet?